we've mentioned it here a few times. You mentioned two quarterbacks' names here. I mentioned them. People have been wondering why Ohio State needs another quarterback, or a quarterback, not another, a quarterback singular in this recruiting class. And people look at, okay, well, they got three on campus, three scholarship guys, and they got a guy in 2024. Why do they need another quarterback? And I think it's wise. And I look at what just recently happened. Quinn Ewers transfers, Jack Mill, the third, transfers. You have a walk-on transfer. You only have three quarterbacks on campus. So you're expecting to have, what was that, six guys potentially on the roster this right now at quarterback. You only have three scholarship guys. I don't think there's a walk-on quarterback on the roster. I could be mistaken, but even if there is, that's four. The walk-on's not going to play. That's pretty much a done deal. He's not going to play. And the two guys that are behind Stroud, McCord's got a little bit of run. Devin Brown has not been able to get any run. So you're very, very thin at quarterback. We all know Ryan Day could bring in a transfer. Probably doesn't want to bring in a transfer because that brings in a whole nother can of worms. And we keep talking. You mentioned Brock Glenn, I think, a week ago or 2 weeks ago. Austin Novosad, we talked about at length previously. I think there's a need and there's a reason for Ohio State to add a quarterback to this recruiting class. What do you think about them adding a quarterback right now to this group?
Yeah, I agree, Jay. I think you always want to bring in a quarterback every single cycle. Look, it's not going to work out with all of them. The portal's taught us that. College football has taught us that. There's not a position like quarterback where if you have a clock in your mind for when you want to see the field and you don't get there, you leave. It exists more for quarterbacks than all others, right? And everybody's clock is still a little bit different, right? Quinn's clock was really, really short, right? That was a stopwatch more than a clock. So you never know how that's going to work out in general. And then all things even, let's say after 2022, CJ goes into the NFL like we all expect. Who's the front runner? McCord just because of experience? Well, now Devin Brown would have had another year under his belt. And then in theory, you're bringing in another quarterback recruit thereafter, maybe one of these two that we've been talking about. Who's to say they don't emerge despite being the youngest guy on the roster? We've seen that across college football over the last few years where true freshmen or redshirt freshmen become the guy really quickly. So you need depth. You need a competition, a true competition. Just like we talked about at wide receiver, you need that across the board if at all possible. And then you're also building depth and volume because attrition is coming. It's just something that is a part of the quarterback position. So if McCord and Devin Brown are going head to head, it's really, really close, and then Ryan Day makes his pick, that loser of that battle might say, well, I'm out immediately, right? You have to be prepared to have depth beyond just the starter or the backup in this case. So it's really paramount in college football. The seasons are getting longer, right? Playoff expansion talks, increased regular season talks, etc. The seasons are getting longer. Health is harder to come by later in the year. You just need it in just about every single way. So yes, if you're Ohio State, even though Raiola is waiting in the wings in 2024, you've got to try to bring in an arm in 2023. And I do get the sense the Buckeyes will get it done. Don't know how soon. If it's Brock Glenn, it's a matter of days. If not, it's all TBD. So it's going to be quite interesting to see if Glenn doesn't come to Ohio State, just what they do. Are they all in on Novosad? Do they start to look at other targets, maybe look at a late riser? That could always be at play here. So it's not quite panic time yet if Glenn does choose Auburn, because look, this time last year, Devin Brown did not have an Ohio State offer. And look, he's on the roster right now. So that's always something to consider, that these kids still have an entire year of high school ball left to play. It's just quarterback is its own animal, and it's accelerated from a recruiting standpoint. So we kind of freak out a little too soon sometimes.